So the document here is a vulnerability scan result. And basically, you can see the containers that they have their priorities dropped into. So their lows, their mediums, their highs, their criticals. AI is also in use here in terms of the automatic escalation path. So as they see that you've had a medium criticality that came up in your last month's vulnerability report, you did nothing about it, we're finding that again. The next month, we scanned again, we found that same vulnerability, it's a medium. The artificial intelligence will bump that up to the next criticality point to derive some action from you. Kind of knock on that door like, hey, why are you doing nothing about this? There's a reason that it's a medium and now it's a high. So better deal with it before it gets to a critical. And that really helps to help identify where you're best suited to deploy your resources, or again, call in a third party to help you there. Now, I decided to use this slide to help on the kind of second half of the questions, which you may have seen from the initial agenda, of how you can build the advanced security capabilities into your team without breaking the team themselves, or without damaging the egos, or making them feel like they're not doing their jobs, however you want to interpret it. A lot of the times these are brought in and kind of compared to their team's capabilities as if there's something that's missing. So flipping the script and kind of changing the mentality so that artificial is thought of as their best friend, their team's assistant. They're that backstop, the baseball backstop. I know that's another favorite analogy of ours, to kind of patch those holes of just where they're spread thin. And especially when it's something like log reviewing, where no one likes to do that, this is a good way to be like, hey, I consider your time very precious to me. So I don't want you toiling in the back in a dark room combing through logs all day. Let's bring in this tool to do it for you. Engaging in that built-in vulnerability scanning, which leads to these reports, is another great way to utilize the machine learning in the active analytics phase that Alert Logic pitches, as well as the AI engine to backfill your internal staff. So those resources, if there is a person that's missing, if you do have someone who quits unexpectedly, this is a great tool to bring in to at least backfill that until you can find their replacement or get that appropriate restaffing there. And if no action is taking on those findings, letting the team know that, again, they have that net behind them so that you can engage with someone else to help clean that effort up, and that they do have the support that they need in the role. And another great point about the vulnerability reports here is we have a specific client who meets with their CEO regularly. So this was that kind of going back to the return on investment, being able to show on a weekly basis the progress that you're making, the progress that your team is making, reducing those criticals and those highs, getting that number lower, getting those circles smaller. And the bottom half of that report as well are kind of the data metrics, so showing your maturity over time. So you can see where the spikes are. You can also use that for tracking and forecasting ahead of time, that we always seem to see a massive spike in our vulnerabilities towards the end of the year. So perhaps setting a little bit of extra IT budget aside towards the end of the year for targeted remediation work, or having a retainer block where you can call in that action team or that tactical team. It kind of helps you in those discussions, which can oftentimes be uncomfortable.